They're the liberal rednecks. They like cornbread and butt sex. They care way too much but don't give a fuck. They're the liberal rednecks that makes some people upset, but they got 3 big old dicks that you can suck.
Hey everybody, welcome to the WellRED podcast. We are sans Trae. We are sans Drew because of some fucking technical difficulty, because both of them are in Tennessee where the internet is ran by a horse pulling a cart filled with donkeys. But I'm here, and with me, by the way, are 2 dudes who are some of my favorite people in the world, and they are also opening for me tomorrow, Thursday, December 28th at the Gray Eagle in Asheville. So come see us. There's like 10 tickets left. My good friends Dave Hanna and Ryan Darling of Good Cop, Rad Cop. How you doing, boys?
Yo,
What's up? What's up,
What's
everybody? Good to be here. Good to be on the show.
Thank you for dressing up and being in a professional studio.
Dude, I ain't getting out of bed. It's Christmas. When was the last time you put on real pants, Corey?
Oh, yesterday for Christmas, and it was not fun at all. Now, all of my jeans, you say real pants. All of
these
my
chinos?
jeans,
What's up?
all of my jeans or any type of dress pants for at least the past 5 years when they became popular have been the ones that are like the stretch material. Like they're not completely elastic, but like they give a little bit. So if we're and I think by now, since those have become the norm, those count as real pants. Like real pants mean they have belt loops, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, why not?
Okay, yesterday. And yeah, again, that's when you realize like, oh, I should be wearing real pants every day, because when you don't wear real pants, you don't know that you're gradually gaining weight. You know what I mean? Like your sweatpants don't tell on you. They just like
That's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Anyways, yeah, I love it that Ryan, now you're both a comedian and a musician. And instead of taking the positive attributes of both, you just take the slovenly, lazy piece of shit attributes of both, and you're just like, I'm not getting out of bed. I'm drinking at 3.
Are those not the positive attributes?
I'm literally drinking in bed at 3.
See, the only reason I chose this career was so I could drink at 3.
Yeah, in bed.
You know what? It's funny because as a comedian, we can start there. As a comedian, how different things have become, because when I started comedy, which was in the George Bush administration, I knew I needed to work hard at my craft. Like I knew the people at the tippy top worked really hard, but like the whole idea of going into comedy was like, I'm not the type of person who can work a 9 to 5. I want to work just at night and an hour. That would be great. And like, that was kind of how it was. Like when I was emceeing and featuring in the early days, that's kind of how it was. But like now, in order to be a comedian, you have to put out like 10 clips a day. You have to do 4 or 5 podcasts. You have to do, and like, I literally work more than a 9 to 5 now as a fucking like actually standing on stage is like 5% of the time I spend doing my job. Do y'all feel that way?
The majority of the job is just videos by yourself.
Right. It's all
talking to a black mirror.
Right. Yes.
There's that, and just showing up. Like our big problem is we have to get to venues way earlier than every other comic because we have a sound check.
And we always close.
So we are when comics show up for spots here in Atlanta, they show up 5 minutes before they go on,
of course,
do their spot, and then leave right afterwards. We're there a good hour and a half before doors, and then we're there, and then we close the show. So, and
then we have to take all of our equipment down. Every gig, we're there for like 5 hours.
Yeah, 20 minutes takes us about 5 hours. Yeah, it's a whole
literally
thing.
A real job.
Yeah, y'all have taken the absolute easiest thing about touring as a comedian and thrown it out the window. Now, I'm an anxious and neurotic person. I'm there an hour and a half usually before shows, but just sitting in the green room, not doing anything. Y'all are having to sound check and shit. But it's worth it.
Our sound check takes
oh my God.
3 minutes.
Right.
Our sound checks go by so fast. They're like, okay, you don't sound like shit. And we're like, yeah. And then they're like, all right, go sit in the green room. And then we're there we just play chess back there.
Do you think Ryan knows that we can't see his head right now?
Can you not see my head?
I think he's intentionally framing it around his cock.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, hey, how would you? These podcasts, like when we put out episodes during Christmas or after Christmas, because I know how podcast numbers work. You can look at it every year. These like. Everyone ends up listening to these later because they're right today as we're recording this, and tomorrow when we release it, they're out returning gifts.
Yeah.
They're if you're like me, you're at home pooping the humanity out of your entire body because that's what happened to me today. Like I don't know. I know this is like a hack premise of a thing, but like I genuinely do not know how my sphincter was able to get this big today, but it did.
Yeah.
So my point is like. It always feels like when we do these episodes, we're just doing them for ourselves because nobody's really paying attention.
Hell yeah, dude.
So because of
this is for that stretch butthole crew. This is the stretch butthole pod.
All my stretch butthole peeps out there. So, but I did want to know how y'all's Christmas was. Like, I know that you're both in Atlanta now, correct?
I'm in Chattanooga for the holidays.
My man.
The hollandaise.
This was the first Christmas I actually didn't spend with my family maybe in my life. And they never told me how nice that would actually be.
They don't want you to know.
No, I was worried. I was like, man, I'm going to be alone for Christmas. I don't have my family. I'm not going to be around my sister or my mom or my dad or my nephews. And turns out Christmas kind of rules when you're not under the pressure of your family. When you're just like, oh, I can just kind of fuck around, play video games, drink, eat way too many cookies. I mean, I don't know what your sweet tooth is, Corey, but like
it's all of them, every tooth.
I can clean a plate of cookies. And so I ate a shit ton of cookies, bunch of pastries, drank a little beer, and just played video games. And it was a rad day.
Are your is your folks still like pretty religious?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, it depends. Yeah, my dad's like, definitely religious, and so is my mom. But my sister kind of goes to one of those like cool new liberal churches, You know
how I feel about those is like every single one of those churches, like their whole selling point is how not like church they are.
Yeah.
And I've always just been like, okay, then why don't I do nothing? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
it's jump part church.
I feel like if you want to go to church, you want to go to church. Like if you're like, no, you'd love this church. It's nothing like church. I'd be like, well, neither is Ruby Tuesdays. Why don't I just go there on Sunday? You know what I'm saying?
It's really just like, do you want to play video games and drink beer and pretend you're going to heaven?
Yes, I
add
do.
That third party in there. Yeah.
I would just imagine.
I can't go to hell. I went to church today, bro.
I would just imagine that if my family, because my family like believes in the Lord and all that, like they've never let go of the believing in the Lord, I guess, but they don't do any of the things to prove it to anybody, like go to church or even on. And I always thought like when they stopped going to church, it's like, oh well, they'll still be the people that go like on Easter and Christmas, but they don't. And I said all that to say this, like if that was still in the mix, I would feel way different about spending the holidays with my family if I had to go to church and do like the midnight service and shit. But like, since they don't, it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I think with those like kind of like liberal churches, I was talking to my partner about this, and we were saying that I think it's for people who aren't necessarily religious, but their view through like the spiritual window is like God, the Christian God. So like they're more into like meditation and like kind of more the spiritual astrology kind of shit of life, but then they still kind
Eastern philosophies, but they're westernizing it up a little bit.
Yeah, and they're like, they can relate it back to Jesus, and they kind of have like hippie messaging.
It's deep fried Buddhism.
Yeah, it's kind of it's pretty cool. Like I've been to her church, and I'm like, y'all are all right people and stuff like that. But I'm with you. I'm like, I'd rather just hang out on Sunday.
No, I'm with you. And now with the baby that I have that my wife made me, very kind of her, I am starting to get like my parents are starting to talk about like, well, we should go to church sometimes with him. You know what I mean? And I'm I'm like, and I'm like having to pick my word because I don't want to be disrespectful to my mom. Like if my mom started going back to church, like if she really did that and she was like, hey, I would like Bane to go with me to Sunday service, I love my mom, so I would not deprive her of that joy. But at the same time, I want to tell her, like, just so you know, if every Sunday, if he goes to church with you, when he gets home, I will be doing a CIA level debrief with him, just to make sure that all of it is out. You know what I mean?
It is. You're not depriving her of joy, but you're absolutely depriving your son of joy.
Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah,
he's gonna fucking hate it.
For it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, I didn't know. Like I exclusively went to church, so I didn't know what it was like to not go on a Sunday.
You didn't realize how not boring life could be.
Right. If my parents were divorced, like they got divorced, and mom was at church and dad wasn't, it would take 2 weeks of me being at dad's on a weekend, not going to church, to be like, "Hey, mom, I'm not going anymore. This don't end." Were you? Did you grow up religious, Dave?
Yeah. It's complicated. Well, no, it's not complicated.
We've got plenty of time.
Yeah, but I didn't do any. I did like some Sundays until I was like 12 or 13, and my parents stopped going to Sundays, and then I went to like youth group stuff on Wednesdays. So I've basically always had my weekends free, and I don't understand why you would surrender them for any amount of time, much less for like 5 hours of your day.
Especially
Waking
if you're
up
a
at
football
7 a.m.
fan.
Yeah, dude. People are waking up like earlier than they do to go to their job, to go to church. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that, man.
Right.
A day of rest. I'm staying home.
And maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but Ryan, I think you were Baptist, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so was I, Dave. We were Baptist. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I don't know why. I mean, we all grew up in a similar. Well, actually, are you from like Chattanooga proper, Dave? Or
I'm from Cleveland, Tennessee. So
okay,
basically,
yeah. I'm just saying it makes sense that we're all Baptist. That's kind of like, like if someone is from Massachusetts, I'm gonna say Catholic, and it's probably gonna be, correct.
It's the middle class white guy Tennessee bit.
It's basically people who fundamentally agree with the people that handle snakes, but don't want to handle the snake.
They don't want to be creepy about it.
Yeah. Did your folks go to Sunday night service, Corey? Were they like that wild?
We were the stereotypical every time the doors open. We went Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday, obviously, and then Tuesday was Tuesday night activities, which my dad ran, and my mom was the VBS lady. So we were there all during. So we were there all during VBS, but then we were there even before that because my mom was like prepping, and they were like, so like. Oh, dude! Like, and my mom was in the choir, so I went to choir practice with her. So, like, dude, like, my childhood was like, I barely have a memory that doesn't have something to do with the church, whether that be
church.
And I'm not gonna sit here, like, as much as I dislike organized religion, I'm not gonna say that there weren't some good memories, but it was more. It was more. Honestly, all my good memories were me and my little buddies fucking off during church.
Dude. That's what I was gonna say. I think it would be fun if you had friends, but I didn't have any friends, so I hated church.
So
Sunday night was like the best service because it was the only night my parents were like, "Listen, we know we're taking you to Sunday night church, and it's boring as shit." So they just let me draw all through Sunday night service. So all Sunday night, I just kind of just would sit there with a thing and just draw for an hour. But
parents that don't give their kids something to do are unhinged psychopaths. I don't understand why you would force your kid, because I don't even understand any of these words. Most of the adults don't understand like the King James version vocabulary. You know,
no idea.
The kids just like, what the fuck is going on?
Right. Like, that's such a great point. Like, obviously, you don't like. I don't want my kid on a tablet that's making noise and disrupting anybody that wants to enjoy the service. But yeah, like, if you don't let your kid draw, you're an asshole because, like, if the kid, the only way, in my experience, or what I was told about, like, believing in God and stuff, is like, you have to want to participate in it, and you have to accept the Lord. And like, when you're a certain age, like, you can't even, it's the age of accountability or whatever, you can't even understand it. Right. So like, just let them do whatever. It's sort of like how I heard this really, cause I wanted to beat my kids. Like, I grew up like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of my kid. I'm just kidding.
Sure.
But you know, I got popped. Like, my mom and dad didn't beat me, but my mom did. You know how like there's people who are 1 inch away from being a dwarf, but they're not a dwarf. That's how I got beat when I was a kid. Like it was like right up to the line where it's like, technically they're fine, but it definitely is more than it should have been.
This isn't assault.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. But anyways, so I just grew up and that was like, yeah, you pop your kid or whatever. Then I heard a couple years ago, somebody said this, and I feel this same way about making your kids pay attention to church. They're like, okay, if you hit your kids, think about this. If they're old enough to listen to reason and understand things, then you should do that instead. You should talk to them. But if they're not old enough to understand reasoning, then they don't know why you're hitting them anyways, so don't hit them, right? I feel the same way about church. It's like if they're super young and they don't understand the Lord stuff, just let them fucking draw. You know what I mean? Because like you're going to make them hate this thing so fucking much.
Yeah. And a lot of it is full of bullshit nonsense anyway.
Well,
like
the biggest thing is like they want you to sign an eternal contract by the age of 5 on your own, and so they're like, "Is fire hot?" You're like, "Fire is hot," and they're like, "Okay, you understand fire is hot. Now you understand your goldfish dies, right? So imagine if your goldfish dies and is thrown in a hot fire, that happens forever." Unless you just say this real quick prayer with us, and you're like, sounds good to me, and then they get you for life.
How many times did you do that? How many times did you do that, Ryan, just to be cautious?
Except Christ?
I think I got saved like 14 times.
I really only did it like twice, because I remember being at the age of 10 being like, I don't even know if God would take a 5-year-old's word seriously.
Right.
But at the age of 10, I was like, you know what? I'll do this. But I did it because I don't know if y'all remember. You remember Ray Boltz by any chance, Corey?
Yes, but refresh me.
All right, he was a Christian singer, and he had this song.
He wasn't on the Gaithers though. He wasn't one of their crew. He was a different guy.
Like a little side. It was like him, Carmen, and DC Talk.
Carmen, dude, Carmen.
Dude.
But that's the first dude that when I was like 8, I was like, oh my God, men can be attractive. And it was Carmen. And then I was like, you better not tell the preacher because he'll think you're gay. Like I already knew that was a thing. I couldn't admit that Carmen was a good looking guy.
Yeah. He had that kind of Italian look. He's like Italian, dark hair, just like,
Kind of like he looks like a Vegas magician kind of.
Dude, 100%. That song, do you remember Satan Bite the Dust? That song was fucking awesome. Carmen, I don't know, Dave, if you remember, but Carmen would rap, and he would also just do like storytelling songs that were
tremendously talented fella.
Very dramatic. But Ray Boltz had this song where the music video took place in the future, where like Christians were being persecuted again, and then like the dad was pulled from his son and taken to go get killed because he believed in God. Yeah. And I just
2023.
And they showed
what is
video,
up with that fantasy?
They showed this to a bunch of like 9-year-olds, and I'm just like sitting there crying because I was like, are they going to do this to my dad? And my dad's like, if Bill Clinton has his way, yeah. And then I just remember being like crying all night, and then they're like, well, do you want to believe in God? And I was like, sure, because I don't want to like, it's like when I think back on it, it's like one of the most traumatizing things to do to a child.
My church used to bring that up all the time. They would be like, remember, kids, if you don't take a bullet to the face, you're going to burn in hell.
Right.
So make sure that if a school shooting happens, you ask
that girl
for
that
it.
got killed in Columbine.
Yeah,
they loved her so much.
That was like that was the best person to ever live.
Also, what proof is there that happened? You know what I mean? Because most of they're like
it's bullshit.
They're like the guy looked at her and he told her, if you don't believe in Jesus, I can't. First off, he only did it to her. He didn't do it to any of the other ones, just her, because he was a chauvinist, I guess. But also, the only 2 people that could say that this happened are dead, and were dead before any reporter got there. My thing with getting saved a bunch was, in the Southern Baptist, it's like once saved, always saved, which is nice. Like if you had to pick one of them to be real, I'm like, go with that. That's great. You know, because if you really mean
That's
it once,
I'm leaning on.
you can then fuck. Yeah, right. But then, well, that
I feel like that's
I got me a pass
that's
from
that free
1999 sitting
that's
in
the
the
free
handle.
insurance the government gives you. It's like, this is the Southern Baptist heaven. You get there and it sucks. It's just
it's like cheating on your wife. It's like cheating on your wife, but she's a paraplegic. You know what I mean? Where you're like, hey, well, you know, I can do whatever I want. What's going to happen? You know, I didn't say that. The pastor did. Okay. So anyways, like I believe that. But then like I went to church with one of my buddies who he was Church of Christ, and they were doing this whole thing like, no. Every time you sin, you have to get saved again. And I was like, but we don't believe that. But instead of being like, fuck you, at my church, we don't, I went into like, oh my God, what if that's right? You know what I mean? I was like, what if that's right? So I started like secretly getting saved all the time in my heart. And like,
You're addicted to it.
Like, yeah, I was just like, well, I was just scared to fucking death. Like every time I did, like if I cheated on a test, I'd be like, Lord, save me, Father God, you know, whatever. And then
what are you doing in the bathroom?
I'm getting saved. Shut up.
You getting saved again?
Get out of here. I'm jerking off. Don't think I'm getting saved.
Save points in this house, boy.
Yeah. Then it's funny because like how you know that whole deal with like, oh, there's no atheists in a foxhole. Like I hate that phrase because you know it insinuates that like only with God could you be brave or like you give up all your morals. But there is a shred of truth to it in a sense because when I got older, long after I'd given up on God and stopped believing in any of that nonsense, every time I was having a panic attack that I thought was a heart attack because I was doing coke, I would get saved. Like I would just
exactly. I get saved every time I have diarrhea. Look at how many churches I'm supposed to build.
I don't get saved every time. I don't get saved every time I have diarrhea, but I do see God, which is similar.
Now I'm just picturing an atheist in a foxhole. Like coming out being like, there's no
She's
God.
Still like, nope, I still
like,
don't
you're like, that guy is the bravest man on the battlefield.
Yeah.
He's just out there burning villages and being like, yeah, we're all dust.
Go ahead and shoot me, you Iraqi son of a bitch. When I die, nothing happens. Oh.
Yeah. That'd be that's the bravest guy in the military right there. But it's also really funny that there's also only Christians in foxholes in the trenches, because if you're at war, you're not sitting there going, look at God's creation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You're just like, as you're getting just mowed
you're not
over.
like, this is badass.
Yeah.
Well,
he really
my
be
best
out
friend
here,
died in my arms, but it's so nice that he's in heaven right now.
It's not a really good sales pitch to me for you to be like, hey, with our thing, you have to be scared into it. You know what I mean? Like, but also like you were talking about that whole, like, believe in God or this will happen to you. Someone will shoot you in the fucking head. Like, not to pile on, but like, that's literally how they get people to vote Republican. Like they use the same fucking tactics. You know what I mean?
It's weird that those things are correlated.
Yeah. Big time. They're literally like, oh, you're gonna vote Democrat. Interesting. Cool. Well, call me after a Mexican comes and rapes you and shoots your daughter in the head. See what you think about it then.
Dude, like, oh, I didn't know that was gonna happen, dude.
Dude, I had a realization yesterday. Like I was just walking around thinking about George W. Bush, as you do from time to time, and being like, man, the president's because what really got me was like everybody was like, man, George W. Bush, like Hunter Biden is a fuck up, right? But he's the son of the president.
He's not the president.
George W. Bush, who was the son of the president, and everybody was like, that guy's a fuck up. Right. And then he became president.
Right.
Which, if we're lucky, we get to vote for Hunter Biden.
We'll get to happen again. Yeah,
we'll get to vote for Hunter Biden.
That's such a funny point that you bring up because, like, I've thought about that too. Like, in terms of when everybody's talking shit about Hunter Biden, and I'm like, okay, guys, let's just say he is all of these things. He's not the president. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't. Yeah. If he truly is using like our taxpayer money or whatever to do all these, send him to jail. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what you do with it. Like, I don't know any Democrat who like spends any of their time going to bat for Hunter Biden. Most Democrats I know go, Okay, well, he's not the president. Call me when he's the president. But if you think about it, and it's wild to think about this because back then, like, Twitter wasn't a thing, 24-hour news wasn't a thing, but like Ryan is so right. Like, everything you can say about Hunter Biden, they were saying about George W. Bush in the 80s, and
Well,
then
like,
he
man,
became president.
Yeah. If it's illegal for your family to smoke crack, then send me to jail. You know what I'm saying? I'll be breaking the rules out here.
And Drew has pointed this out a lot, that like all the things the Republicans are saying about Hunter Biden is like they're actually just making him sound so goddamn cool, and it's like,
and he is,
and it also he's fucking cool as shit, and it
he
shows
hangs
you
huge dong.
It also shows you like how uncool the Democrats have become, because like we used to be the crack smoking whore bangers, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was our deal, baby. And now we're just like so stuffy with a pocket protector and shit, following our rules. Like, we're not cool.
Yeah.
My favorite political
I know y'all
thing
are
from
both conservative, but I'm just speaking for.
I'm a big Hunter Biden.
My favorite politics moment this year was when they found that little bit of coke in the White House, and they were like, "It's got to be Hunter," and I was like, "It could be anybody. It could literally be anybody in the White House."
Because it wasn't in like the tourist part of the White House. Like,
it could have definitely been a tourist.
Any person can get into that part of the White House, and they're like, "It's cocaine."
Yeah.
Which means in their eyes,
like
Hunter is just taking the White House tour for fun.
Yeah.
And then being like, where did I put my cocaine? It's just some 18-year-old on a field trip.
They found some hot sauce in the White House. I think it's Ryan's.
It's totally
Ryan's been in the White He eats hot sauce. It's got to be him.
Well, guys, I'm fucking so pumped, not only to hang out with y'all this Thursday in Asheville, by the way, Thursday, December 28th, we are all three of us at the Gray Eagle. And I've been telling everybody who, like, you know, I've had our fans have come to see us every year in Asheville. We usually, when we're all together, we play the Orange Peel, but I'm coming by myself. And so I was trying to explain to people, like, hey, maybe you came to see the show at the Orange Peel back in February, but number one, I'm doing a completely new hour. Well, first off, I'm doing an hour. You only saw me do 30 because I was up in Trae. I'm doing a completely new hour. You've never heard any of this shit. And also, fucking Good Cop, Rad Cop's going to be with me. So I promise you, unless you were at our show in Knoxville at the Bijou, you've never seen a Corey Forster show like this, because there's going to be fucking rock and roll comedy music, baby. I want you to tell our fans, I want to know, me and you talked about this, but it wasn't on the WellRED podcast, about when you decided to give up on your dreams of being an actual stand-up comedian.
I just want to let all of the Good Cop, Rad Cop fans out there want to know, if they want to see Ryan Darling solo, I'll be at 529 on January 10th.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
So I have a date to play. I'm not.
Yeah,
Ryan still does comedy.
Dave still does stand up too. Dave just did a spot at the Comedy Catch.
I did.
I don't know when we started counting that as work, but we're just talking bullshit. I mean, we didn't give up on that. We just don't do it as much. But yeah,
don't listen to him. We gave up on it.
No, hold on just a second. I hope because we do have a lot of people that listen to this show who are great fans, but their sarcasm meter isn't always great because I do. Because I'll
a lot of 6-year-olds that listen to the show.
Yeah. Ryan, are you making dumplings?
Yeah, I'm making dumplings.
Okay. No, they're just, I don't know how to say this any other way than they're a specific type of people, which sarcasm doesn't always land. And we'll have comics on and I'll throw one of these, like what in my brain is a clear, like sarcastic, comedian dig, and they will literally be like, I can't believe that you said that. Do you really not like that person? I'm like, what are you fucking talking about? I'm recording with him. No, y'all are both great. Y'all are both great comedians, and you know that I have so much respect for what you do, because what y'all do is actually what, if I had any courage, I would be doing, because I'm a very musical person. I love writing songs and shit, but y'all have actually done it. And
serious songs. I like that John Prine of stand-up comedy.
Was that dick and balls humor?
Was that something that, like, both of you individually had wanted to do it? You're drunk at JJ's one night. You both bring it up, and you're like, well, let's just do it together.
No, it started out just more casual even than
But
that.
Ryan just figured out I had an electric piano that could play background music.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
pretty much all it
the
happened.
Is that
first
really
He
it?
was like, I was
Yeah.
in a band. I was
Yeah.
like, I write songs sometimes.
Yeah, the first project we did was we covered a song by this band Pup. They released the lyrics and chords for a song without releasing a song, and then asked fans to submit versions of what they thought the song might sound like.
That's awesome.
So me and Dave did a polka version of it with his keyboard, and it ended up, they loved it, and like Andrew Michael, you probably know the comedian Andrew
I
Michael.
love Andrew Michael.
He's friends with them, and they were like, one of our favorite versions was the polka version, and I was like, hey, that's ours. And then we just kind of were fucking around. We were roommates during COVID, and then we stopped doing stand-up for that time period. And then, after we got out of the pandemic, we thought, we really didn't know if Good Cop, Rad Cop would be good live. We had no idea.
We
just
really didn't. No.
Yeah, we were just kind of
running
like,
head first.
yeah, so we booked ourselves a couple shows. Drew and DJ took us out on the road a little bit, and then the response was overwhelmingly great. And so we just kind of kept doing it, and now we're approaching our third year as a live act. And yeah.
Was that wild to go? Because, like, y'all been doing stand-up for, quite a while now. And, like, so obviously every time you go on stage, there's at least a little bit of nerves, even if you're doing, like, the same set you've been doing for a while and you're polished. Because, like, Frank, at the end of the day, it's still ridiculous to go on stage and start talking to a group of people that you don't know. Like, in my opinion, if you don't ever have nerves about that, you're a sociopath, which might mean you're a great comic. You know what I mean?
With you.
But like, I would assume that Jerry Seinfeld still gets good nervous. Like, it's not a bad nervous. It's like, it's more, you're anxious. You're like, yes, let me get out. But you feel fucking something. But when you first start doing comedy, it's not a good anxious. It's a bad anxious. It's like, holy shit, I'm going to fail. And then y'all had been doing stand-up for a while and had finally gotten over at least that part of it. And then did it come immediately back? Because you're like, this is new. I don't know. Like, we might fail and everyone's going to hate me. Because that's where my brain goes. If I have a bad set, everyone hates me. They want to crucify me to a wall, chop my balls off, and put them in my mouth. Reacher.
That totally came back. 100%.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
particularly because it's like, if your music bombs, then you're just like triple bombing. I don't.
Right.
It's so bad.
It's so embarrassing to back out of a song. You're just like, all right, guys.
Have you done it? Have you been like, okay, on to the next thing?
We've definitely backed off of parts of songs where we were like, all right, this is not going well. Let's like drop this. Like, and I mean, that's also the thing is, like, when we do a song for the first time live, it's going to be different than like what it is at its current state, just because we don't know really where the punches are. It's like crafting it's like crafting a chunk,
right?
Like, you go, all right, this isn't hitting, this is hitting. So like, we're going to move this around and like figure out a better way to intro songs. And like, there's a lot more to play with, like the dynamics wise, but I mean, it is really frustrating. I think now I get more nervous about playing new songs than I do kind of about just like what we're going to do. Cause like, we kind of have our 25-minute, like our feature set is pretty locked and loaded, and it doesn't bomb ever.
I've never seen it bomb. It's great.
So like, we're kind of locked in at a good spot right now, but I mean, I still get nervous before, not every show, but a lot of shows. I'm more anxious to just get out there.
Yeah, because once you tell the first joke or pluck the first fucking chord and it immediately starts going well, like, it's not nerves anymore. You're floating on air. It's the fucking best, you know.
Yeah.
But when you're backstage, you're in this moment of it could still go bad. You know what I mean?
I try to make myself feel that way, honestly, because I feel like if we don't feel that at all, then we suck, or at least it's not as good if there's not a little bit of fear.
Yeah. Right. Do you feel like, now you close a lot of shows, and have headlined a lot. If you feel like the show is going on too long, are you getting kind of like, I feel like the audience gets fatigued after an hour, they start getting a little cold. But like, we did a show where we weren't on until like the 2 hours and 5 minute mark the other night. And I was like, nobody gives a shit to be here anymore.
I think,
you know, and it's hard. That's when it gets hard.
I mean, all of our WellRED shows are scheduled to be 90 minutes, but almost every time we go over, like, especially on the second show, we're like, okay, the club doesn't give us, like, we always ask the club, we're like, first show, we'll do tight 90 because we have to change the room over. Second show, if they go, hey guys, just have fun, then we just have fun. And like, we've definitely done some like 2-hour plus shows. And my thing with that is like, I do think if it's a stand-up show that like just a general stand-up show that people didn't know who was on it and they just wanted to go see a show, and therefore it's a bunch of like, you know, sometimes amateur comedians, like, yeah, longer is worse because you're going to see the holes in that. But I do think that if in our case, we don't have random people in the crowd. They all know who the fuck we are.
Y'all got fans, and they want to see you go long and do like interesting shit.
Yeah, and also we are crushing. Like, you know, exactly. Now if we were all having bad set, I'm certain that there's been shows we've done where but like my point is though, like I also think, and we're all three, we fit in a similar package, but we're all different. Like we're all enough different, and like I'm very high energy, so I think my set goes by like a breeze. Then they get to Drew, he's a little bit more surly, so it's a little bit different. Then by the time they get to Trae, it's like, well, he's the guy we came here to see. So I don't think that's true. But like with y'all, like y'all are so different that I think if you're giving the audience variety, they don't know that it's been too long. If you have like a show with 10 white dudes who all tell the same types of joke, way too long. But if you've got 10 comics, all of whom are different, I think it goes by like a breeze. So like, I don't think anyone's ever been watching y'all and thought this has been going on too long. I think that's all in your head.
It's been really fun lately where we'll go out to shows and we've started to see people coming out who will either recognize us from being online or who have come out to that show specifically for us.
Yeah.
Which
they want you to do 4 hours.
Which is like happening very frequently now, which is really neat because like, I mean, I would have really, when I started comedy, I never thought I would really get to the point where people were actually buying tickets to just come see me that I didn't even know them at all. And that's really, I mean, it really is kind of, I'm always beside myself when that happens. And usually it's either somebody from WellRED podcast or from EFF who's like heard of us, or like, I mean, some other shit that are like, oh, we've heard you on this thing, and like we came out, and it's just, it's been really wild to experience that. And I always try and hope those people are in the crowd and try and play for them if we can, because like, it's pretty wild.
I think it's like, you know, to a lot of people, The Irishman was way too long. But no, I'm just saying, but if Scorsese is your favorite director and you're the biggest De Niro fan ever, it wasn't long enough. You know what I mean? Because you're like, I'll watch this motherfucker do his thing all day. Now, like, I feel like I am a huge Scorsese guy. Still think it was a little too long. But do you know what I'm saying? Like, there have been...
De Niro looked a little too old.
My God, dude. It was weird. It was weird.
That was confusing to follow.
I was kind of surprised he had no Irish superpowers.
Right. But like...
a movie called Irishman. You would have thought...
But like, dude...
He at least got drunk.
I might get some shit for this, probably from y'all, but like Titanic and Irishman are like the same length. Like they're the same length movie, but I've never heard anybody say the Titanic was too long. Never. I mean, maybe somebody. Yeah, right. The Titanic new shit's like the Irishman was very slow, very methodical, whatever. The Titanic new shit's happening. There's a fucking iceberg. Also, like, as much as I love Scorsese, I think the Titanic's a better movie.
It is a better movie.
It's a better. So
that's fucking rocks.
So that's my point. Is like two things can be the same length, but one feels long and the other one doesn't. And I think comedy's the same way. If it's done well, people never want to leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they never want to leave. But yeah, if it's going bad, it's like, let's wrap this fucking shit up.
Yeah, a bad 5-minute set can feel like an hour. And a good hour can feel like a very good 5-minute set.
Oh, dude, like we were in Nashville this past weekend, and when we're all together, we're doing like 30, 30, 30. Maybe Trae will do a little bit more. And because those crowds were so hot and our material was so sharp, I thought I'd done 8 minutes, and I looked down and I'm at 32. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
because it just like, I'm like, there's no fucking way that this is too easy, and it's too, so yeah, that's
Am I a god?
yeah.
I think
Dude,
I'm a god.
It's funny because I don't feel that way any other time except when I'm in Nashville, specifically at Zany's, because I'm like, I could have had like terrible sets all leading up to that, and I'll go to Zany's, and every time I come off stage, I'm like, there's no one in the world as good as me. Like, there's no one.
I'm the funniest person of all time.
When like there's so many people. Well, back to another thing you were talking about before I hijacked it. You were talking about backing out of a song like, oh, this isn't going well. For people that didn't really understand the parlance or whatever, like when you're doing stand up, when you're on stage and you're trying maybe a new bit or whatever, you can tell pretty immediately, like maybe by the premise, like this isn't going to work. So you won't necessarily say to the crowd, let's try something else. You'll just bail from the joke and try your best to like have a segue that makes it seem like you didn't bail, but you get out of there. Now, when I was early on in stand up, I would never get out of there because I was like, no, I have to tell the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yep. Even if it's going bad. Then I got better, and I was like, if something's not going good, bail. It's no problem. They don't know that you're bailing on something. They didn't check your set list first. But now that I'm older and I think better at it, now I've gone back to, I'm not bailing. I'm still gonna do it. You know what I mean?
I'm staying here forever.
Because it's like an ego thing. I'm like, no. I know it's not going good right now, but this is why I'm good. I'll get them. And then sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But my point is, y'all. But when y'all are on there, I'm in charge of my whole fucking show because it's just me. I'm the performer. I'm the editor. I do all this. Y'all are together. So in order for y'all to decide we're going to bail on something, your chemistry has to be fucking amazing. So like how good are y'all now at like almost telepathic, let's fucking do this?
We have strong telepathy.
Yeah, 100%. We're very in sync with each other. I can tell
with a single glance exactly what Ryan's feeling about how a set is going, how the whole show is going. Who his least favorite comic on the show was, which guy in the crowd is pissing him off the most.
Yeah, I can tell. Yeah, it is very funny. Yeah, I'm a little bit more active. I can also tell we're having a good set if me and Dave are laughing a lot on stage.
Yeah,
like there was a set we just had in Charleston where we were having so much fun. Dave forgot the words to the song, and we were just like having a hard time catching up. Oh, and it was better. I known the words. I had to like remind him of the words, and like it just like things were making sense. And I mean, we're on a level now where it's like we're very present when we're there and very connected. And so like the only time we've really had a bad set was like we had not. It might have been like our 5th show ever. It was our first time playing in Atlanta, ironically enough, and we played.
I'll never forget this show.
A Laughing Skull satellite show. So it wasn't at the Skull. So it was 5 people showed up. The 5 people who bought tickets were 5. I would want to say from ages 50 to 65-year-old.
Your target. Right, even better.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of just 2 white guys doing their thing. And I mean, and it wasn't their, like, they didn't like anybody on the show.
Yeah.
So no one had a good set. We all just kind of sat there and we all bombed for these ladies. But me and Dave were like, we don't know how to get out of this.
Right.
And so we just committed as hard as we've ever committed ever to anything. And
comics loved it.
And the
just
comics,
hit the piano.
I mean, the comics loved it. The comics thought it was amazing because we just were like, yeah, we know we're bombing, but we're going to pretend like we're not.
Well, that's all you can do.
Yeah.
And matter of fact, I respect that because the other way to go is to just continue bombing, but not even try. Which, like,
really obliged that you're bombing.
Yes, yes.
I
but
hate
like,
you guys.
But like at the same time, like, you know, I had to be taught this lesson by like more experienced comedians. Like I'd go up and like I do feel like it is so natural. You match the energy of the audience. If you come out and your first joke murders and the audience is great, you're going up a gear. Like without even thinking about it, you're going up a gear. But then if the audience is dull, you know, you end up getting down to their level and thus like giving a bad show because you're like, well, what the fuck? They don't like it anyways. But what you fail to realize is like what if there was a person in there, despite all these, it seems like it's going bad, that was really enjoying this, and they paid their hard-earned money to see you, and they took off work and got somebody. So you still got to do the fucking show. Like, you can't. It's like Jesus. Like, you don't. Like, you leave the 99 to find the one. If there's the one there, fuck the like. You just do your best show, and
you're
like
you're contractually obligated to at least fucking try for the people that do want to see you. And whether you can tell if they're there or not.
And fuck contractually, like, your ego should make you go, I can get them back. And I've seen comics do it where, like, they get up and, like, the crowd's bullshit, but they're like, they just click another gear and they're like, no, not tonight. I need this to work. And it just, it fucking does. Here's something about y'all that I wanted to bring up that I get jealous about. Is that because there's two of you, and obviously you're performing in, harmony together a lot, like you're both doing the same thing, you're singing this particular song, but then there's the occasion where Dave, for instance, will have a solo, and Dave will take his shirt off and he'll be rolling on the floor in the front. And what I get jealous of is you, Ryan, who you get to be on stage performing, which is awesome, and it's its own high, but then you also get to be an audience member and watch Dave do all of that shit, and then Dave gets to do the same.
Let's go.
But I was saying, and Dave does the same. Like, when you're doing your thing, Dave gets to, like, just enjoy your part, and like that's a very unique thing.
I feel like for me with that is Ryan riffs. He has some good riffs sometimes, and good crowd interactions that are equivalent to ripping your shirt off and rolling around.
Sure.
And I'm just kind of standing up there and I'm like, well, I got nothing. But I do get to be an audience member.
I'm more of like the crowd where I'm quick on my feet, like with the crowd kind of things. So I'll be able to, like, jump back and forth doing, like, more crowd work stuff, and then Dave will.
Those moments, it feels like cheating because we're getting laughs, but I'm not doing anything.
Yeah,
so
and I mean, during a kazoo solo or when Dave's throwing his shirt off, like, one of the better things we've come up with lately is Dave, when he throws his shirt off, throws it over my face, so he's rolling around, and then I'm literally just trying to figure out where I am on stage. Right. And I have not stepped on Dave yet, but it will happen eventually. But
this Thursday in Asheville, baby.
Yeah, I mean, so that's become fun, and then it's just more fun for the audience to see. But yeah, I mean, it's a good, like, the biggest thing I also think with acting in general is just, like, anybody can say a line, but having to sit there and watch somebody talk, that's like acting too. And so
most acting is reacting. Yeah,
and so trying to find a way to enjoy, like, what Dave is doing and find. And I mean, honestly, there will be times where he'll crack me up so much, like, he'll end up on the ground, and sometimes I'll be so focused on the audience I'm not even paying attention to Dave, and next thing I know I'll be looking over and Dave's, like, on his hands and knees and doing some shit that I've never seen before, and I'll just start laughing. And then, like, I'll watch
keeping it fresh.
Yeah, and I'll watch tape, and I mean, sometimes there's plenty I don't see that we're doing that when I see it on tape that I'm like, I mean, where I'll just be laughing, being like, we're the best thing that's ever happened. It's like, we're so fucking entertaining. Like, there's no way around it. Like, we're one of the most entertaining fucking things you'll ever see.
Couldn't agree more.
Out.
Yeah, no, I mean, I genuinely couldn't agree more, because I wouldn't have, if y'all were not that, I wouldn't have had you on the show just because you're my friends.
No.
There was a time in my life where I would have had you on the show just because you were my friends, but not anymore. This is the mortgage. I have to make sure people always want to come back to the Corey Ryan Forrester show.
That's the truth.
But no, I mean, I fucking. Yeah, I love that shit. I love how entertaining y'all are, and also that you crack each other up. That's fun. And I do want to know this about, like, the work rate and how it's different than just writing stand up. Because, like, for me, every now and then, here's what I do. I constantly am taking notes in my phone, and when I think of, like, a premise or I think of a punchline, but I'm not actually, like, really writing. I'm just like, oh, that'd be funny, that'd be funny. And then every now and then I will sit down and go, okay, go through your notes, get all the ones and then go, okay, how do I do this? But usually what I'll do is I'll, like, work it out on stage. But with you guys, number one, I know that you're collaborating, but number two, like, I know right now you've got, like, okay, this is our 25 minutes. This is what we do. And occasionally I'm sure you'll be like, let's throw the new one in this spot. Let's just try and mix it up. But, like, how often are you guys writing new shit? And are you going, hey, we need to write a new song? Or is it just, hey, Dave, I just thought of something on the toilet. Let's do this.
When we do come up with stuff, it's the latter. We've been
Right.
kind of in a dead spot right now where
I was going to bring it up, but I'm glad you did.
More of the writing that we're doing right now is trying to like perfect little pieces of the act and like
make it cohesive.
Well, I think we're kind of we want to write new material or at least a new song, but we're kind of in a place where we're more interested in coagulating the whole set into being like the strongest whatever 25-30 minutes possible, where there's just literally no room. We want people to throw up.
Which, by the way, that's great.
We've gotten so close.
And that's old school, by the way, and everybody take note. In my opinion, that's how it should be done. We live in a fucking world where it's like, no, new content, new, that where nobody's working anything out anymore. Like they're getting a premise, writing the little part, then filming it and then throwing it away. But like there's such an old school mentality of like, no. I mean, yes, you should, if you have a new idea, write it down, but like make what you've got really, really fucking good before you bail on it and like before you put it in front of people. You know what I mean?
That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of where we stand right now. We just, nothing has really hit us where we're like, we want to invest time working this new concept or whatever. But we've had plenty of ideas where we're like, okay, we can shove a little joke into this. We can change this lyric here. We can add a little beat or some kind of silly solo or something.
Yeah, like we'll rewrite. I mean, Truck Jeans Beer Situation is almost lyrically completely different from...
it's now been rewritten like 6 times.
Yeah, that song's been rewritten 6 times. Motel's been rewritten. We've thrown away more stuff than we've kept. But,
if anything, we're doing more rewrites than we're doing regular writing right now.
Yeah, because it's just like we'll find stuff and figure out where to tweak it and how to make it good to where it's like... Because, like, one thing I'll notice with a lot of comedy songs is a lot of comedy songs are, like, clever. And they're, that's, like, a fun, good song. But they're, like, a laugh maybe every minute you might strike a laugh. Where we're trying to get to that almost like stand-up speed of like 15 seconds. Just like you get a pop. And not just like a pop, but like building to like applause break, like level, like explosive laughter. And so like, it's all about like building those dynamics with a mix of audience participation, but not in an audience participation of like, what do you do for a living? As much as it's like, instead of asking one person to do something, we have the ability to get the whole crowd on board with something, which I think is one huge advantage of musical comedy that a lot of, crowd work or crowd interaction stuff is like when you're working a crowd, you're really only working one person, where like when we work a crowd, we're literally working the entire crowd.
Hey everybody, this is a bummer. Oh, also if you're on video, say hey to Bane. If you're on audio, I have my baby with me. This sucks. I just cut Ryan off mid-sentence. That's because our whole system crashed. Luckily, we were basically done with the podcast, but it is a bummer because we had a couple more things to talk about. But, what are you going to do? Technology, right? Anyways, hey, if you're listening to this, when it airs on Wednesday, come out tomorrow night to the Gray Eagle in Asheville, North Carolina to see me and the boys, Good Cop, Rad Cop. Not only will you be supporting comedy, but you'll also be buying this little baby here a new shirt or something. You know what I mean? Hope y'all had a wonderful Christmas and hope your new year is tremendous. Remember that you can go to drewmorgancomedy.com to see wherever Drew's at, TraeCrowder.com. Trae's got so many dates in 2024, some of which I'll be hopping on, I'm certain. But go see him. And as for me, at bonuscorey.com, which is my Substack, I just put out a Christmas special. It's called A Chickalookie Christmas Carol. I did a Southern retelling of Charles Dickens' classic, A Christmas Carol. And I think that you'll really enjoy it. And for $5 a month, you get stuff like that at bonuscorey.com, completely ad-free. You can also join for free. You don't have to pay anything a month. But but you know, you'll get things later, and there's more bonus things I do for the paid subscribers. You get it, but it's a fun time, and I really have a blast. Hey, bud, and I really have a blast doing it. Grab our book, Round Here and Over Yonder, available wherever you get books. What else? I think that's it. Other than just, I love y'all. We all love y'all. Thank you for once again supporting the WellRED podcast this year. It has been a very, very fun year. We look forward to 2024, where we will hit a couple milestones. I think we'll get to our 400th episode, which is really crazy. I think it's more than 400 because at some point I think I started numbering them wrong. Maybe y'all noticed that. But yeah, man, it's really crazy that we're still here. We're still doing it, and it's fun. So TraeCrowder.com, DrewMorganComedy.com, and BonusCorey.com. Come join us over on Substack. It's a whole lot of fun. And say bye, buddy. Bye, buddy. All right. Y'all have a great day. Love you. See ya. Bye. Mwah.